So hi everyone. One of the things that goes around the internet is not buying a Makita MLT100 table saw, and I guess I absolutely agree with that advice for people who are not prepared to work with it. It has a terrible mitre fit, it has a very unstable fence, and it has very poor sliding table. So over winter, and this is my workshop during winter, that's why there's so much rubbish everywhere. During winter I decided to tear this thing apart, because the nice thing about this table is the motor and the depth of the cut. And the motor and the depth of the cut, in order to get better than that where I live, which is Poland, I would have to pay well over €1,000, and I didn't want to do that. I challenged myself to not do that, to spend €1,000 on better things, and to find a way to fix this. So I chose Open Build's V-slot profile. This is aluminium that you can get in different heights and widths, that has built-in grooves for constructing things. Now these screws take an M5 slot, which will take an M5 bolt rather, which will be very important in a moment. Now I built myself a new fence, as you can see. So I've taken 80 high, and I've attached the Makita MLT100 handle, and I've done that using a long strip of aluminium which runs the whole length of the fence. I've then attached a horizontal stabilizing bar. There's actually 90-degree attachments underneath that as well, so underneath this piece there are other attachments, you just can't see them. And then a stabilizing bar at the back. And because this MLT100 also has this terrible design of lots of grooves in the table, I didn't want this catching on those grooves. And so I added another piece of aluminium underneath that in order to give it extra width. You can see the width there, extra width, and then it's not going to catch in any of these grooves. Terrible design for this table. Lastly, for the fence, I've added a long piece at the back here. I'll remove this. A long piece of the same V-slot profile, this time aluminium to match the tabletop. Silver aluminium to match the tabletop. And then I've jammed the outside bar of the table against that to keep it straight. And that is a very strong stabilizing influence on the fence. So I'll just... that fence is not going anywhere. So that's nice. And as you can see, I hope you can see, that's pretty close to 90. I mean, those gaps in there are probably the light coming through it from the profile itself, but we've got very good 90-degree. These are 90-degree clamping bars from Banggood. So I then tackled the mitre gauge, and the mitre gauge has an absolutely terrible bar that it's supplied with, which is this one. This is the supplied one, and if we push that into the slot for a moment, difficult to do this while I'm concentrating on filming. Well, I think that speaks for itself. So I replaced that with a piece of aluminium, a couple of bits of tape on it to make sure the aluminium is really solidly in there, and that doesn't move backwards and forwards. So we have a nice piece of this, nice smooth movement, it's not going anywhere. And again, nice 90-degree, and the blade itself 90 degrees, just for a check there. Everything at 90. Let's push that in a little bit, just make sure it really is at 90. There we go. So I think that's, for me, that's close enough, everything there. So now I'm building the side table, and I took everything off, and this is just, I cannot express how badly manufactured this is. It's disgraceful of Makita to sell it in this way. I do not expect this low quality from Makita. However, and I said M5 would be important later, this is an M5 bolt, which, remember, is the kind of bolt that will fit into our tracks here. Okay? So that's why M5 is important. Watch this. Yep, there are M5 holes in the side table here, which means that we can use our M5 bolts to attach this Open Builds V-slot profile from the 3D printer world, really, to this side table. So this is what I'm planning to do. So here is just a test setup at the moment. These are little sliders which will go along the rail, and I'm going to attach 2 of those rails to this bed, so I'll give you an update on that when it comes along. So I've, I just lost my temper, ripped the whole thing apart and fixed the whole thing. So what am I concluding here? I'm concluding that if you can do, why did I do this out of aluminium profile? Well, first of all, this stuff's a lot cheaper than T-slot profile for some reason. So that's one factor for using this rather than the traditional woodworking aluminium profiles. And secondly, I could adjust things as much as I want and try different designs before coming up with something to finalize with. So it all worked quite well, and I think, as a kind of wild idea, it's something people might want to try. And lastly, the motor on this and the shaft through the blade are actually decent quality. It's actually a powerful saw, and you pay a lot of money to get more power than this MLT100. So this is all about fixing the accuracy on what is fundamentally underneath a decent table. Now, the only thing you might have done further is replace the top of the table or put a thin layer of steel over the top. I might do that at some point, but for now, I think I can live with the surface. It's never really caused me problems, and as I say, on the fence, I've introduced that horizontal piece of silver aluminium here, at the bottom here, in order to stop the fence catching, and just use the handle there attached, so that this rail along the side doesn't need replacing. So basically, I'm good to go. I think I don't really see a reason why I would need to replace this table saw. M5 bolts. If I was going to do this again, I might be tempted for things like this to use aluminium construction profile, which takes an M6 bolt instead. But for the linear rail part of this, I would definitely use the V profile. It's just so much easier. V-slot profile. So what have I learned? Construction profile maybe here and here, but definitely V-slot here because of those M5 holes. It all just works nicely. So I'll show you final pictures when I get this all set up. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I bought the insert here, the metal insert. I bought this on eBay, and it's actually made by someone in Poland where I live, and it just needs a little bit of trimming because there's just a bit of an edge here, so I need to do a bit of work on that. But otherwise, we have replaced all the crap manufactured bits on this table, and this will turn into a decent saw table. Thank you very much.